Executive function. These are cognitive skills that are on a higher level. They are essential so that we can control and coordinate our behaviors and other cognitive abilities. Executive functions can be categorized into two: the regulatory abilities and the organizational abilities. Organizational abilities are the ones that are involved in the gathering of information and structuring it for evaluation. This includes attention, planning, sequencing, problem solving, working memory, cognitive flexibility, abstract thinking, rule acquisition, and selecting relevant sensory information. Regulation, on the other hand, is the one that evaluates the available information and modulating our responses to the environment. This includes initiation of action, self-control, emotional regulation, monitoring internal and external stimuli, initiating and inhibiting context-specific behavior, moral reasoning, and decision-making. Executive deficits have been associated with damage to the most forward areas of the frontal lobes, as well as the cortical and subcortical structures that connect to the frontal lobes. The executive system involves the prefrontal cortex, basal ganglia, and thalamus. The frontal lobes are the last areas of the brain to fully develop. This area of the brain was evolutionarily related to appear and is much larger in human beings than in our closest non-human primate relatives. The frontal lobes typically account for about 40% of the human brain. Disorders of executive functions. Because these skills put together information at a higher level across cognitive domains, damage to the executive system typically involves a cluster of deficiencies, not just one ability. The loss of that administrative control affects the ability to organize and regulate multiple types of information and often cause behavioral change. Damage to the executive system often leads to difficulty organizing, difficulty in planning and initiation, inability to multitask, difficulty processing, storing, and/or retrieving information, mood swings, lack of concern for people and animals, loss of interest in activities, socially inappropriate behavior. Let us go to working memory. Dialing a telephone number that you were just told, keeping a person's address in mind while given directions, calculating the sum of grocery bill as you shop, and managing to remember the elements or the sequence of a story in mind before the person completes telling it. These are just a few examples of working memory. Then what is a working memory? It is a type of short-term memory that temporarily stores information during the completion of cognitive tasks like problem solving, comprehension, learning, and reasoning. And because it is short-lived and momentary, this temporary storage does not cause any changes in the brain. Working memory is essential in attention, learning, and of course, memory. It involves three important components: encoding, storing, and retrieving. Some activities to help with working memory are writing tasks, saying things aloud, throwing a ball back and forth while discussing what to do, draw a task, use pictures to support verbal information, and demonstrate the task. There are other activities that any parent, early childhood educators, teachers, or any ordinary people that they can do to enhance the children's working memory, which will be instrumental in a child's growth. One example of this is similar to what we call broken telephone. This is a group activity that can be done with groups of cousins in a household, kindergarten to school-age students. This activity is fun and engaging, which will surely be enjoyed by children and even adults alike. It does not need any special training to facilitate this activity. This is how it goes. As mentioned, it is a group activity. Thus, it needs more participants. At least a minimum of 4 is alright. The more the better, because it will be more evident where the communication went wrong. For visual type of broken telephone game, this is what we can do. First, let us all give all participants an empty piece of paper. Let the participants line up. There will be a prepared sample of pattern that is not yet shown to them. This pattern can be a series of random number or letters or shapes. Depending on the age group, the difficulty can be adjusted. If they are upper level age group, it can be a 5 to 7 word phrase sentence. For this particular example, let us use school agers. The phrase that we are going to use is, I eat apple for breakfast every day. The facilitator will show the phrase to the first child on the line. Give him or her 7 seconds for the child to read it. Give the child the time to write. Time is flexible because not everyone can write fast. This child will then show the next child on the line what was written on the paper. Give another 7 seconds for the child to read, and the process will be repeated until the last child on the line was able to finish writing the phrase or sentence. The last child on the line will then show what was written on the paper. If the exact phrase or sentence is what was written, it means they are successful. If something is different, then the facilitator can track from each child what went wrong. We can do an auditory type which will be done slightly different. Instead of writing it down, the phrase or sentence will be whispered to the first participant. It will be then passed on to each child by whispering. Once the last child in the line is done, he or she will utter the phrase or sentence. If the entire phrase or sentence is correct, then it is a success. If not, the facilitator can track where in between had a lapse in communication. Another type will be the kinesthetic type of game of broken telephone, which will be done through actions. All the participants will also be on a lineup, but will be facing on same direction with their back on the facilitator. The first child or participant on the line will be shown a series of actions. For this particular example, we can use what you can see on the video. Once the last participant on the line is going to perform the actions, it will be checked thoroughly by the facilitator if that is all correct. If the entire set of actions are correct, it is a success. If not, the facilitator can easily pinpoint where in the line did the actions changed. This activity has a lot of strengths. First, it is a fun and engaging activity. Second, it enhances the participants' short-term memory. It's also very easy to facilitate. It can be done anywhere, in a classroom, in a field, or in a house. It does not require too much materials. It also enhances socialization and team building. It is also a simple activity to be used as an icebreaker. Although it is fun and engaging and very helpful, there are also some weaknesses of the activity. It can be too competitive. It can also be a result of blaming if someone failed to deliver the right message. For those with difficulty reading, they may not be able to finish reading in 7 seconds. But overall, we can say that this is fun and enhances the working memory of children or any other participant.